Hello. Thank you for joining us today. We have several departments here to discuss some amazing resources at Florida Tech. So today, if you could introduce yourselves.
My name is Kat Nanny. I am the Director of Student Activities, Greek Life, and Civic Engagement here at Florida Tech. I went to school at the University of West Florida in Pensacola, Florida, where I got my undergraduate degree in political science and then my master's in higher education administration. I've been here almost 10 years, I can't believe it, and I've been working in student activities for 9 of those, and yeah, that's me.
My name is Jackie Lingner, and I'm the Director of the International Student and Scholar Services here at Florida Tech. I've been at Florida Tech for a little over 14 years, but I've been working with international students for close to 28 years. I went to school at the State University of New York, College of Oneonta, that's in upstate New York. I earned a degree in history and in English.
Hi, I'm Donna Gaynor, Director of Career Management Services at Florida Tech. I have been here 30 years, most of that time in career services. I received a Bachelor's of Education degree from the University of Saskatchewan in Canada and my Master's in Human Resources Management from Florida Tech.
Well, I've been here about 17 years at Florida Tech. Let's see, my undergrad degree is a bachelor's in business administration, dual major risk management insurance, and that was at Temple University in Philadelphia. Also, my second degree was also in Philadelphia. I went to Drexel University, got my master's in library of science. And then after I moved to Florida, I went back and started here, and then I went back and got my MBA, and that was at University of Central Florida. And then further educating, because I don't, my wife says I collect initials, so I just keep going. I started doing a program in behavior analysis, and I got my postgrad certification in behavior analysis here. And after that, I became board certified behavior analyst. And then continuing on to school, I got my EDS, Education Specialist degree in Education and Discipline of Psychology here at FIT. And I'm working on my PhD in Education Discipline of Psychology.
Wow, I didn't know.
Really? I'm tired.
I know. But so I'm on both sides of it. I help students, and I'm a student,
Yep.
so it works out. I see both sides of the coin. So, do you have any cool stories that relate to your classes, or things that have relate here and there,
Meaning the classes we took here?
or anywhere? Yeah, but here especially. But
It was so long ago, I don't remember.
Well, particularly for me, I was actually raised in Europe, so I was raised around 28 different nationalities at SHAPE in Belgium. So I always have been around international students my entire life, and then I actually came to school in Florida for college. So first time I was ever around all Americans was actually when I came to college too. So it was almost like, although I was American, I was an international student coming from Europe with, like I said, 28 different nationalities. I took classes, my math classes were in the Italian high school, my English classes were in the Belgian high school, and everything else was kind of split between a bunch of different high schools, so it's kind of mine.
very cool.
I guess I can relate to international students because I'm an international person, or was. Canada's pretty similar to the US, but I can understand the differences in some of the cultural aspects and immigration issues and those kinds of things. So I can relate to that.
When I first got out of high school, I started working at SUNY Oneonta, where I got my degree from, and I worked in the library. So we had college roll students, and they were international students, a lot of them. And I'd never worked with international students before. We didn't have very many in our high school, and it was a lot of fun. And then when I went to the admissions office, I did international admissions. And then I went over to the actual international student office, took the admissions documentation with me, worked strictly with international students, and I've been with them ever since. And I just love working with international students. That's my goal when I retire. I'll work somewhere as part-time with international students.
Yeah, this school is just, it's so diverse. Every day is kind of a new experience. But the tutors work for me here, and everybody that works for me is just from somewhere different, and when we do training, we always ask, tell us something unique about yourself. And some of the stories are just out there, very funny, that you don't expect. And that, they said, yeah, last week I was, in a farm with all these, and an elephant walked across my, by my house. And, it's like, I was raised in Philadelphia, and that I don't think I've ever seen any animals like that outside of a zoo. But, and it's such a varied experience that we get every day.
It is.
So when you guys, if you could stay here and do whatever you want, is there anything you'd want to pass on in your stories related to the international specifically?
I think from our perspective with career services, international students need to get involved. And I know that Kat will talk about involvement, but it's very important to communicate effectively in English. So start early by getting involved and interacting with all different kinds of students. Take leadership roles. That's good for your resume. Work with professors and get to know other students from other cultures and countries. That will help you when you're out there trying to find a job, resume builders, as well as helping you become more confident and feel successful. So I know you'll talk about that.
Absolutely. There are so many different things that we can do for international students. If it's, just joining, as easy as joining a student organization, because there are so many different student organizations specifically from their country to kind of help them. The ISSO, which I think you would be best to talk about, that wonderful organization that does a lot of work with the international students and is all of the international students together, which is awesome. And then of course there's honor societies. We have a lot of events for students that don't have their own car. If they would like to go to Disney and they'd like to experience what it means to live here in Florida, go to Disney, go to Universal. There's tons of what we call trip series available for them. So we can do kind of anything for you guys, and we're always looking for ideas and things that we can change and maximize your experience here and your involvement here at Florida Tech. But yeah, and then another great thing that we can do is civic engagement. There's a lot of incredible volunteer opportunities, and I know a lot of the countries require that students volunteer, and there's some really great opportunities out there. We make it very easy for students because we want to match the student's need with the community need. So we try to find very specific volunteer opportunities for the international student. I just had one in my office actually that wants to work with astronauts. And I said, well, that's going to be a little bit difficult to find. And we actually have the 45th Congress of Astronauts coming up in Orlando. So I got him a volunteer opportunity where he's going to be able to work with astronauts. So, it's out there. You just got to tell us what you want, and we'll find it for you.
And the engagement piece is so important because every year you have these students that come to your office and they're really sad or depressed about just a little bit because they miss mom or dad.
Yeah.
And if their mom and dad is 50 miles away, it's like, okay, maybe they come visit. But if your mom's 3,000, 4,000 miles away, it's really not as easy. But what's cool about it is the more engaged they are, involved in the organizations, and, come to visit, asking for help. Like I always tell students when they're looking for help or they need help, to ask for help. A lot of students won't ask for help, and I think that's always a mistake. But there's so many resources, people resources, department resources, and just the idea of going out and coming back from sports center, getting tutoring, or coming to CAT and coming to get job information, to have your resume checked, whatever. But the idea of just getting involved is a key piece. And the person that I saw last week that was homesick is now like, no, I'm good. Running, I gotta go. I got a meeting.
Well, I think that's a good point too about asking questions. I know when we meet with all the student organizations, we tell them, my assistant director and I always tell them, there's no dumb question. Ask us. We know that you're not going to completely understand everything. We have weird terms here. We're a different university because you guys are STEM focused or business focused. So we know that you're going to have extra questions, and we love the questions because sometimes the questions give us ideas to make things easier for you guys. So definitely, I agree. Don't ever be afraid to ask questions or come to us because we want to help you guys.
The International Student Organization, there is, I'm not sure how many of them are there now, but there's a lot. We have coffee hours that the ISSO sponsors along with the ISSS office, and it used to be one big coffee hour. Everybody was just involved. Anybody who wanted to come would come. The last few years, each country that has a club here on campus has sponsored the coffee hour. So people come to the coffee hours, professors, the community members, American students, and they are able to learn something about another country and the culture and the customs of that country. We have a very popular tea ceremony that is done pretty much every semester. And the students just love being able to learn about other countries, and the international students love learning about each other's international students' countries. So it's been really, really successful.
I'm would just like to add that getting involved in the community, getting involved with the ISSO organization that works with the community, it's very important to have those contacts in the community because that's who helps you get jobs.
It is.
You have to have good contacts
Yep.
and individuals who own businesses or individuals who are vice presidents of businesses, they're out there in the community volunteering.
We have we have a woman in the community who works with the international students and has for over 10 years now, and she will take students during spring break, and she will take them canoeing down in the Everglades, and she will take them camping, and they go to the movies during the semester, and she has them over for dinners. And the students really appreciate being able to get off campus and get involved with the community members. It's been a real success.
Yeah, academics are very important, and it's a great school, but the involvement piece is so important, just getting out of your room and meeting people, coming to the center, coming to the library, coming to ISS. Just really, it's amazing. There are the opportunities to do that here.
Yes, there are.
So,
Well, I can say for work opportunities, as a student at Florida Tech, after you've been at Florida Tech for an academic year, students are able to get internships or do a co-op. They have to have, there's criteria that they have to meet regarding whether it has to be related to their major, their grade point average, where they want to work, how long they can work for. That's a good segue for a lot of students to volunteer or get an internship. And then once they graduate from Florida Tech, they can apply for optional practical training. Shortened, we call it OPT. And a lot of students who have worked during their college career have a leg in, so to speak, to get a job once they graduate college. And they can stay at that job for a year and possibly an additional 2 years if they're in a STEM degree. And then if that company wants to keep that student, the company can hire them on the H visa, which is a maximum of 6 years. And a lot of students do that, and a lot of companies will then go on and hire that student permanently and help that student apply for permanent residence. And it's been a very successful program. We have a lot of students who start at one company while they're a student and then just go right on into permanent residency with the same company.
One thing I'll mention regarding opportunities within our office for international students. International students may work on campus.
Yes.
And we do typically hire at least 1 or 2 students in our office related to our programs, usually psychology, business, or something like that. But we also have 2 career fairs every year, and we need volunteers for our career expos and our career fairs. And that's a great way for students to meet employers because they're helping them. They're not just having to worry about going up and asking them about jobs. So I would encourage students to, whenever they see the call for Career Expo volunteers, to come work for us for a couple of days and meet the employers.
every semester we have about 40 to 45 tutors, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, and probably about 2/3 of our tutors are international students. And you have to have a 3.0 or better and an A in the class you're tutoring in, but we actually allow tutors to start early before they have all the classes here, because we actually do a program where they can actually tutor local high school, middle school students, and because we go through a whole training program, so that while we train them, they can still come in. And the first semester, they just volunteer. So they volunteer, we train them, and then the second semester on, as long as their major has what we need and everything else, we generally hire most of them to continue on as tutors. And tutors love working at Academic Sports Center. I can't get rid of them. They hang on there from freshman to senior year, and we have cake for birthdays and great parties at the end of the year. And I'm always sad to see them when they go, but it's a really close-knit group, and they're always there, whether they're working or not. I'm like, are you working today? No, I'm not here today, but I'm studying or hanging out, and it really is funny because they're here all the time. I never know when they're working or not. Sometimes they're just coming in to study.
Coming in to hang out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So jobs are number one. Obviously, you're going to school to get your most favorite thing you do, to have your best job possible, and Florida Tech is a great place to start to reach that goal.
So in career management services, of course, that's our job, right? We help students find jobs. So for international students, there can be some challenges, and so they need to be a little bit more prepared, perhaps, or do more work in order to be prepared to find that job. One of the first steps is to get involved, as we've mentioned before, start getting out there, building skills, communication skills, and leadership skills, and teamwork skills. And then I would also recommend getting involved with professors, volunteering to work on their research projects, because sometimes that leads to the on-campus college role job, working with a professor, and that's a great place to start. I also recommend that students apply for any kind of college role job. Sometimes students think, oh, you know, I should be in my major, or it should be something technical. Any kind of job is good experience, and that can be a good resume builder. Now, our office, we do assist students in finding employment, mainly off-campus for international students, and Jackie will discuss the regulations related to that. But our office assists students in developing resumes, building job search skills like interviewing skills, and we also provide a variety of resources to find those jobs and to research the employers and to understand what employers are best for you and your situation. International students, as I said, have some challenges, so what kinds of employers are best for you to focus on? And so we help them with that so that they're not wasting their time in the job search. We offer many opportunities to interact with employers. We have 2 career expos a year, we have information sessions and employers coming and doing resume reviews, and all kinds of different activities that they can get involved in to meet employers and to network with people. It's another important thing, network with individuals in the community. Anytime there's a campus event or somebody is coming from another university or from a company, they should be there and they should be meeting those people.
And that great etiquette dinner you just did.
Yes,
That
or the
is
networking
awesome.
event,
Yeah,
yes.
yes.
So we have a variety of opportunities, not just, you know, workshops and information sessions for students to build skills and to meet employers. So get involved early with our office. That's an important thing. It takes time. It takes time to develop relationships. It takes time to do your research. So come in as a freshman, meet us, and get to know us.
As Donna just said, come in as a freshman, meet the Career Management Office. To begin with, international students cannot work off of campus until they've been at Florida Tech for an academic year. So a lot of students want that college role position. They want to be able to work on campus. Again, they might not be able to work in their department, but we have a lot of students that work in the gym. We have a lot of students that work in the dining halls. We have a lot of students that work in tutoring. It is a lot of opportunities for students on campus to be involved, to get some work experience while they're waiting to be able to apply for what's called curricular practical training, which we call CPT. CPT is done after an academic year, and that allows a student to work off campus in an internship for a semester at a time. It gives the students a foot into the door, possibly of something further down the road for them to participate in. It gives them experience in their major. A lot of the CPT students are in their major. If you're an accounting major, we have students that work for accounting firms locally and all over the United States. And Donna's office is very adept at helping them find where they want to be and what their best fit is for what they want to do. Student graduates, and then they can apply for optional practical training, which is OPT. I spoke a little bit about that before, but a lot of students, if they've been doing CPT, they go into OPT with a foot in the door to the company they've already been working for on their CPT, and that's a big help to them. Currently, we have about 70 students this spring semester on CPT, and we have close to 700 students on OPT all over the United States in big companies like Microsoft and Google and Amazon.
Facebook,
Facebook.
Intel, lots of great companies.
Airlines, Allegiant Airlines, American Airlines, just Delta, all over the United States. It's amazing the help that the students get in finding these positions that fit what their major was, and they're able to continue the learning that they want to do.
I noticed that when we get students, some of the students we hire, it's sort of volunteers that come in and work, but some of them have either never had a job before,
Mhm.
or the job they did have was very narrow in who the type of people they see. So they come here, and we're so diverse. So they get to interact with different cultural and ethnicities, and it's very eye-opening, I think. And I remember hearing the president, Kay, made a comment about how they come here as a student and leave as global citizens.
Yes.
And I think that was the coolest comment, that I completely see the transmission, as they go over the time they're working for me, and they become more open and more involved with everybody. And it's funny because when we go through our training, we have a discussion about something that you might find as ordinary, someone else might find funny or offensive, or just not even think about it, and you might feel the same as somebody else. So they kind of learn, interacting with all these different cultural, that this just everybody's different. But then at the same time, at the end, everybody's kind of really cool and close, and as they would say, there's so many best friends as they leave. It's
Yes.
just
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
close knit.
And I think getting a job on campus first, or volunteering in an organization first, those students that haven't had that opportunity to work before, it gets them used to the American culture as far as work culture, so that when they go out to an employer, they're better prepared.
Yep.
And the type of programs and events that we offer in our office, like the etiquette dinner we've done a couple times, that really kind of teaches you how to eat while on an interview. Some people don't think that that's something that you have to kind of think about, and that is something you have to think about. And then from leadership, how to be a leader, what it means to be a leader, what it means to own your own experience, all that kind of stuff. And then of course, all the way from volunteering. But we have tons and tons of events that are specific to international students. The coffee hours are a great one. The International Fest, which was just last weekend, right? Yes. Yeah, I don't even remember. The International Fest is my favorite event that we do on campus. That is huge and awesome, and it kind of really showcases every nationality that we have on campus here.
Talk about volunteers.
Oh, talk about volunteers. Yeah.
Lots of volunteers there.
And then there's tons of other opportunities. We do now, this is our 3rd year in a row of doing an alternative spring break. And actually out of my 18 alternative spring breakers, 11 of them are international. And they are going to New Orleans this year to build houses, to work with the ecosystems, and a lot of great things. I mean, the sky is really the limit.
It is.
Whatever they
It
want
is
to
the
do,
limit
they
for
make their
them.
own experience.
Yes, they do. And being able to be involved and engage in all of the different things that they can do here on campus is something that when they come into our office, I want to work, what can I do? What do you want to do?
Yeah.
They have no idea what they want
Right.
to do. And so they'll kind of sit down and talk to us about it, and we'll point them in that right direction. If they want to volunteer, we send them to Kat. If they want to look for internships, we'll send them across the hall to Donna. If they want to tutor, we send them to Rod. I mean, there's so much that they want to do, and they don't realize until they get here what they're able to do.
Right. And then again, my favorite term is resources. I really do. You have to use your resources to be successful. And say, like you said, they're looking for a job, starting with a resume. And then you guys do amazing resume workshops. And I have 2 English instructors that will look at their papers, any paper. They'll come in and they can have an English paper or business paper or resume. And quite often they'll say, I went to the workshop, they gave me these ideas how to work on the resume, but my spelling is atrocious. Or English is not my first language, but I'm going to be applying in American companies. So can you look at this? And an English instructor sit down with them, no judgment, cool, fix this, and what are you trying to say here? Well, you may want to reword that, So, then now you've done that, go back to the, career services and see what they have to say if this works better. But it's really, there's so many cool things with international students that they can use.
Well, they can write their own ticket, if they want to be super involved, they can do it all. If they want to just do a couple things and focus on their career, they can do that too, and we can provide just the leadership experiences for them. They can kind of do whatever it is they want to do.
Definitely.
Yep.
So, with that, the internationals, when they come in to ask for a job, is there anything that they need to worry about, like getting the job on campus?
When they come into our office looking for a job, Donna's office posts jobs available. The university has jobs for work study, and we always let the international students know when they come in at orientation that they unfortunately are not eligible for work study positions, but they are eligible for a college role.
Right.
And their first thing is who hires college role, because they see a lot of work study
Right.
positions. And we point them in the direction of the gym, the dining halls,
Right.
tutoring services, the library. admissions offices. Our office hires international students. We love our international students in our office. They are our first line when students come in, and they are so versed in the regulations of what students can do as international and what they can't do. And they want to work.
Right.
I think the first step is to be prepared. We can direct them to the job postings and to the departments. They usually need some kind of a resume, and that's where they should come to our office first. And we have examples for those students that don't have a lot of work experience for college role means working on campus.
Yes.
We have terms that we use all the time that other people might not be familiar with. But so the first step probably for the student is to talk to our office to get their resume ready and to understand the process of being hired on campus. So we're there to help them with that.
And it's another incentive for keeping the grades up, because
Absolutely.
we require GPA. They have to, like I said, we have to have a minimum 3.0 GPA and an A in the class they're tutoring in. And our tutors generally tend to have better grades, even moving on, because they're constantly reviewing and renewing the material and the backup. So that's kind of cool too. But that's definitely something that they are helped when they work in Academic Support Center, because not only can they tutor and helps them while they're there, we have quite a few tutors that go to other tutors, hey, I need help in this, in physics too, or dynamics or whatever. So
I'm glad you brought that up, Rod, because we've been talking a lot about get involved, do
Right.
all these things, work, and the most important thing is you have to do well in school.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And employers want to see a high GPA, as well as leadership,
Right.
as well as experience. So probably the first thing I would tell a new student is, first of all, study. Make sure you're keeping your grades up. That's very, very important.
Don't miss class.
And academic support can help you with
Right,
that.
Yes.
right.
So.
Yeah, go to class, go to class, go to class. But yeah, in academic sports, well, it's interesting because there are a lot of different student types that are afraid to ask for help. They finally, if they're really, really hurting, they'll maybe come when it's later in the semester and they're really struggling. But if they had just come a little earlier, maybe a couple weeks in, even if just for a review before they need help major, it's a great thing. Like tutoring in Academic Support Center, there are some views that they're going to look at me like I'm a dummy, or it's only remedial to go tutoring. I have plenty of A and B students that come in for review or just to ask one question. And like I said, my tutors all have great grades. Even my tutors get tutoring. So it isn't just for somebody that really needs help. It's to start off and help you be a better student.
Be the best that you can be.
I say when I talk to the athletes, I'll say, have you ever gone to a game without ever practicing? I said, tutoring is like practice before the big game.
Yes.
So you're practicing to be an academic, practicing to be a student, a better student. So.
I always get questions in my office, okay, I'm a new student, I'm here, especially from the international students, I'm a new student, I'm here, what is your suggestion to get involved while also being able to completely focus on school? And what we like to say in our office is, in a semester, join an organization, go to one meeting a month. Don't overdo it if you feel like you can't. If you can, you'll find out that first month or two. We tell them to volunteer 5 to 10 hours a semester. It's not a lot, but it gets their foot in the door. And then to attend one leadership opportunity to teach them. Go to you guys, of course, but a leadership opportunity that can really build that resume. And that's typically what we say their first or second semester, to kind of give them to get if they're nervous about it, because academics are number one, and then they can kind of figure out. We usually find that those students that do that, they are now in 2 or 3 organizations and they're doing all the volunteering, because the more that you are involved, the more time management you have, and they kind of learn how to be the best students they can be. So that's typically what we tell the international students specifically. Just see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, then you can pull out of 1 or 2, and
Right.
you make your experience your own.
But get out of your room.
Exactly. Get out of your
Exactly,
room.
get out
Do
of your
something that
room.
makes you happy
Yep.
and
Sure.
excited.
Yep.
Absolutely. So again, my name is Rod Newcomb. I'm the Director of Academic Support. All the tutors work for me. We work with Disability Services, and we deal basically every day with helping students be academically successful. And it's funny because looking back on my experience, I wish I had found somebody like me to help look at the academics a little more. And my favorite term is, I've said it before, I've said it during these, is use your resources. And there are so many resources on campus. That being said, if I was looking back at undergrad, starting with that, like, go to class, do your best, have academics. But certain things that undergrads do differently that grad students do is read your textbook. I can't say, especially a freshman, just figure they buy a textbook, it's really expensive, $50 paperweight that sits on the table. And then my wife, I took a class, financing class, And after I'd used it, I lent it to a friend of mine, and he used it for his finance class. And then my wife, who's pre-med at the time, borrowed it because she decided, I'm going to do a finance class. And she went in and took the class. She came back and said, Rod, did you ever open this book? She opened it and it cracked. So 2 business students had used this textbook, and neither of us had opened it more than like 3 times. And this pre-med bio student opened it, and she ended up getting better grades than both of us in the class because she knew how to study. She was, more academically oriented. And as you go, you learn these things, whereas grad students, you figure out, you've usually gotten through the trial and error of how to be a better student. And if you can figure that out a little more in advance as an undergrad, it's really helpful. And I think some of the students that have the hardest time are the students that did amazing in high school. Like, if they did really amazing in high school and without even trying, then they come here and they think it's going to be the same. And everybody tells you, oh, it's going to be hard, it's part of it. Yeah, I know. But it's funny because they really don't know until they get here and realize, oh, you were serious.
Yeah.
College is different than high school. And you really do need to go to class. You need to study. You need to make sure you're asking questions, and preparing yourself to ask questions. I have students who walk in, and our professors hear this all the time, I really need help. And professor, sure, how can I help you today? I don't know, everything. So that's a tough question to answer week 2, let alone if you come in, you've gone all semester into week 13, 14, I'm really lost, I need your help. If that happens, if you ever do need help, I always tell students, you need to just do a little preparation. Maybe try a couple problems, go through the textbook. Every time you're reading a chapter or going through notes and you have a question or something you don't quite understand, have a little notebook just for answering your questions. So you write those things down. So then when you're going back through a textbook and you're looking for the answers, or when you come in for a tutoring session, or you come to talk to your professor, and you can say, all right, Doc, I'm not quite sure of this topic. I have these couple examples. Can we go over that? Then you've just made that whole session much more valuable and much less frustrating.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
that's where I would start. Looking back, I think those are the things I would really focus on.
I think that's a really good point, because I know I went to a state school here in Florida, and we were not allowed to take more than 15 credit hours. Here at Florida Tech, these students come in taking 18, 20, 22 credit hours because there is a process to get them through to graduation in 4 years. There's certain classes that you have to have before you take the next courses, and I think it's a shock for a lot of students coming in because it's a lot. This is a very academically rigorous school, and I think focusing on that in the beginning and kind of coming in and understanding that that is probably going to be a little different is something good to know before, because when I started working here, was like, what do you mean? You take 22 credit hours? We weren't allowed to do that. You're like, just normally, it's just a normal thing for you to take 22 credit hours. And that's what it is every single semester for these students. That's crazy, and it's a great thing because it's an all-encompassing education that they're getting every single semester, but they really have to build upon that and do well from the very, very beginning.
Correct. I believe that when an undergraduate comes, like Brad said, you were really, really good in high school, and their first semester in college is just so much different than high school. You need to acclimate to that level. It's a whole different level for them, and not take as many courses as they might have in high school, or as many as, well, I can do this, I'm good at studying, and I'm good at managing my time. During your first semester, maybe even your second semester, take 12 to 15. Don't load yourself with those 22 credits, because college is so much different.
But at the very least, you need to practice the time management.
Well, yeah,
Because
time management is
if you have a
huge.
problem, you have an assessment or a test coming up in 3 weeks, or you have a paper due or a homework, but I have nothing to do this week. I have nothing to do. So you kind of enjoy this whole week. Instead, then you realize a couple days before the test, oh wait, I have to study.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you can still have a lot of fun, be involved, but planning that little, okay, I have 2 hours of studying I need to get in today. I want to get this. I want to start the first draft of this paper, and then make it over to Academy Sports Center, have an English instructor look at it, and get these little by little, so you're not realizing, okay, yeah, I only had these 2 things due, but right before those 2 things are due, now 3 more classes have all put on homework,
Yes.
and they're all due within 2 days, and I only got 3 days left, or 1 day left.
Yep.
And including the independence factor. These students are now coming from possibly their parents or their grand or whomever, telling them, hey, did you do your homework? You don't have anybody here to
Right.
tell them that anymore.
Yep.
So on top of now taking these more difficult classes, they have the independence without someone bugging them in their ear. And it's like,
Absolutely.
oh no.
Yeah.
I definitely suggest a planner. I love to plan, and planning that out exactly like you said. My office offers, with all of your information in it as well, a student planner every year that they get for free, and they can literally plan out, okay, I know this is due on Friday, on Monday I plan to do this for 2 hours, Tuesday I plan to do this. That's absolutely true.
I can say that probably at least 3 times a week, we will have a student call our office, did I leave my planner there? I can't find it, where's my planner? And, we'll check everybody's office and make sure that they didn't leave it, and then they'll call back most of the time and say, I found it. You don't know what this does for my life. And it's a great tool for them
It
to
really
have.
is.
For time
And it's funny,
management, for everything.
Well, it's funny in 2018 you think they'd use their phone, but actually writing it down
Yes.
is the best way to make sure that they are keeping everything in check.
Yep.
And in good news, I went with a different planner company, and the planners are going to be even better this year with tons of services and resources and events, and it's going to be amazing. So
Oh,
they're going to love it
great.
even more.
Good, because we make sure when they do check in, because that's where they'll get their planner.
Yep.
Did you get a planner? No, not yet. Where are they? Right out at that table. Make sure you pick one up.
Yep.
I think that's something that our students, because they're STEM related, a lot of them, not all of them,
Mhm.
they are very detail oriented and very focused, and they plan their time, and they are focused on their studies. And one thing, looking back on my own experience, especially in undergrad, is, sometimes they're afraid to consider other options in their majors and their careers, and especially when we see students who are focused, like, I want to get a job with Facebook or Google, and that's it. Think about other things you can do. I started out as an elementary school teacher. I'm not an elementary school teacher anymore. Think about other things that might fit in your major until you get to Google, or until you get to your dream job. And we find that some students, and especially international students, because they have people at home expecting them to
Yeah.
do something specific or work for some big company, you might have to take some steps before you do that.
That's so true. I had a
So-
student in my office right before graduation, and she was just livid that she did not get a job, the specific job. She's like, can you believe they only offered me $55,000 a year? I'm expecting at least $100,000, and I'm like, well, have you gone to career management? Because I think your expectations might be a little bit big, and I think coming back down to earth might be good. So doing your research and talking to the right people might have made that transition for her, because she's decided now, she was like, oh, well, now they're looking specifically for a graduate degree. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to change my focus. And she
Right.
was mechanical engineering, and they wanted systems engineering, so now she's switching to that in her master's program.
Right.
So she can get that job, but that's something she didn't
Yeah,
know
I think it's
before.
important to keep your options open.
Absolutely.
And to if you're an aerospace engineering major and you're having a tough time because just a lot of the jobs here may require, some specific citizenship requirements, think about other ways you can use that degree.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
think about different things that you can do. I know for me personally, then when I became a graduate student, I went into the HR management side of things, or I would have done higher ed if I could have. So when you take that next step in your education, keep your options open.
Absolutely.
I think
Yep.
that-
And I mean, that's true. When I see a lot of times we'll have a student has, well, you said one major as an undergrad, another major as a master's degree, but they decided to want to PhD, and they end up going back to what their major they had as an undergrad, or any variation of that, because it's just what happens. And if, like I said, you look at my degrees, I'm across the board, but it really just, as opportunities arise, things happen, it works out, it definitely is it's kind of an ongoing process.
But it all adds to your qualifications.
It does. It makes
Yeah.
you marketable in more than one arena.
Right.
Well, and I think it was you, Donna, that talked about how, when you get involved, you kind of find different aspects of things that you're interested in.
Mhm.
Like, I was 3 days away from going to law school thinking I'm going to be a lawyer, and then I realized, no, I like working with college students, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. So I went into higher ed, and I've been, because of my experience in what I was involved in, my sorority, everything that I did, it's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to give that experience back to other people. And my parents were super proud because I had a full ride to law school. They were a little concerned, but obviously it's worked out in the end. But you're right. You got to kind of figure out what you like, and the best part about college, especially coming from, because I did come from an international area, coming to America and seeing everything that is this awesome place, and knowing the awesome places that I went before, you really, over those 4 years, develop and become your own human being and your own person instead of what maybe someone has told you should be. And it's really awesome because you get to figure it out. In those 4 years, you have that opportunity to figure out what you want to do next in grad school or doctoral.
And I've had students say, I made a mistake. I made
Yeah.
a mistake, I shouldn't have done this. And I said, you know, like you said, it's part of the process, it's part of your rounding.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a mistake. I think it's
No.
just part of your development. You move to piece.
Yep.
I mentioned before, I said, when we train our tutors, we talk about what benefits, not only the benefits to the students they tutor, but the benefits to the tutors. And I had a tutor who was saying how cool it is because she's been doing tutoring everything from biology to the upper sciences and pre-med, and she said that when she took MCATs, because she's going to go to medical school, that a big chunk of it is the early biology, and if she hadn't been tutoring, she would have had to do so much more review.
Yeah.
She says because she'd been tutoring the first year of biology for the last couple of years, she said it was like a constant review and she knew it better. She said she nailed that part, just
Awesome.
out of the book, and it was just awesome. She said she did so well in the MCATs because of the review she had. It's just kind of ongoing.
Mhm.
So it's just everything you do is a piece of the next part. I mean, it really is. Cool.
It all fits.
Absolutely.
They just make it fit.
And if they don't, the one thing that I personally love about Florida Tech is they'll work with you and they'll teach you. You know, if you want to switch from construction management to an engineering master's, they get you those courses that you need before you start the master's. If you decide maybe I should have went in the engineering now that I understand the field better. You know, Florida Tech specifically, I know works with them because I know my college didn't, and I love that.
Well, we were mentioning earlier about the undergrads, but a lot of this too, we have a lot of grad students that come in to FIT, and their perspective can be very different. Now, we have students that get their undergrad here and just stay. They stay for their master's, stay for then onto the PhD, and we have a lot of students that the first time they hear is a master's or the first time they hear is PhD.
Yeah.
Every one of them has a different perspective.
Yeah, I know from the career services standpoint, a lot of graduate students who are new international graduate students may have work experience. So their resumes that they had back in their home country are very different. So they may have some challenges at first, and we have to work with them on the American style of resume and job search and that type of thing. And they were also at a university that had different types of services, and perhaps they had a situation where they walked in an office and the job was given to them. Here's your internship, no choice. You don't get to choose it, but here it is. And so they have to get used to our system of, well, you have to wait, first of all, and you have to go through different kinds of interviews and online applications, and so there's a real education that has to take place, and we're here to do that, and you just need to come and talk to us
Right.
about it.
A lot of undergraduates and some masters will come in and they think that they're going to get a job right away. And they don't realize the process that it takes to get a job here in the United States. It's not, like you were saying, it's not somebody's going to hand it to them and say, here, this is what you need to do.
Right.
There is, I don't know if competition is the word that I really want, but there's more
Regulation.
regulation,
And you have to do things
especially
a certain-
immigration regulations that have to be followed in order to stay in compliance with the immigration rules.
Right.
So we help them with that part and then send them to Donna's office for that part.
And Jackie, a lot of the graduate students are older and have families, and they know that's a challenge.
It is a challenge, especially with the time management. I know that when I didn't go to college, I didn't start college till my kids were all in school. And I couldn't have survived, even as a part-time college student, without a planner.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
so tough. I'm working on my PhD, and I have 2 children and a wife, and we're all busy, and it takes focus.
It definitely does. And the older students who have families here, we try to have programs for the families and try to help them adjust along with the spouse who's going to school
Right.
full-time. And they'll come into our office and, can you help us figure out how we can make this work? Because the kids have school and I want to go to their school play, but I have a class. And it's just a lot of time management for them.
Right.
Well, and all the services that we offer are open to graduate students too. We just had our leadership symposium, which is when we bring a lot of speakers. Well, I guess it was in October, it was a long time ago. But, we brought a bunch of speakers, a lot of community members from Northrop Grumman. It was a really great experience. We had a mother show up with her 3 young children, 3, 6, and 9, and she was like, I really, really want to go to this, but my babysitter canceled on me. Can I just sit in on something if my kids are there? And I was like, well, you know, there's like 60 students in each classroom, because we have about 700 students that go to this event. I was like, how about we just, let me call our risk manager. She was fine with it, and then we'll watch your kids. And we went and got some coloring stuff for the kids to play with so she could attend the 3-hour event. And my student staff and I just hung out. They were angels.
That is so cool.
It was a really, but she wanted it so badly and wanted to be able to experience that. So there's tons of stuff that they can do, and we're going to be there for them.
And there's events here that the kids go to. My kids love Florida Tech.
Yes.
I think that a lot of these people that come in families, we've already started Little Panthers.
Yep.
Some of these
Little Cubs.
kids, they're going to
My
come
daughter
back
got
here
them.
for school too,
Yeah.
because they've been here. And even they go home, they've already had a taste of Florida Tech. I think the kids want to come back as much as their parents do
Yeah.
now.
Yep,
I
I went and
agree.
talked to my daughter's kindergarten class, and they said, Charlotte, in your own words, what does your mommy do? She was like, I don't know, she brings a lot of inflatables and a lot of toys to campus. And I'm like, that's not my job, but okay,
But
sweet
part
girl.
of it.
Yeah, but there's tons of fun stuff for the kids. Do Treat or Treat is probably my favorite event.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that's a community event as well as an on-campus event and an international fest. All those exam jam, all the great events that students can bring their children and let them just go to town, get all the sugar.
I know a lot of the students that come and bring their families, back in their home country, they had a lot of family support that was there for them. When they come to the United States with their family, it's just the spouses and their children.
Right.
So luckily, we have a lot of community members and a lot of fellow students who have brought their own families that are there to help and guide them through any help that they'll need. You know, a babysitter, how to find a babysitter, how to find a school.
A house,
A house.
apartments, houses, that's always something.
How to get a car. I mean, that goes for any international
Yeah.
student.
Oh, international driver's license,
Yes.
U.S. driver's license.
Yeah.
And I think on the flip side of the men and women that in graduate school and PhDs specifically that come here without their families. One of my
Exactly.
favorite leaders that I've ever had the opportunity to work with was an RA for 3 years, and he had a little girl back home with his wife, and he had never spent more than 2 months at a time with her because he was here getting his doctorate, and he was going to go back home to he was from Columbia, he was going to go back home, but he had to do this for his family, and he was, I can do this, I can do this. And when the kids would come and visit, we would do big things for the little girl and the wife because we were just so excited for him because he missed him so much. But we offered tons of resources. He got involved. Like I said, he was an RA, and he had his family away from family, and we helped in any way possible for him.
Well, I think that's important for the graduate students that are not married or don't have children and they're here. A lot of the programs are sometimes geared to undergrads as far as orientation activities
Yep.
or, different things. And I would just encourage the graduate students to also get involved.
Yes, absolutely.
In organizations and to volunteer because you still need those connections.
You do.
And we have quite a few international students that come in where English is not their first language. And the English department has a dissertation thesis class that helps them start. They want them to take that when they start doing it, so they got to help them write and get that started, so they help them with the English and stuff. But with the academic support center, that's mostly undergrad support, but if a grad student comes in, they want to have a paper reviewed by an English instructor, we limit that to 8 pages, but they can come in and look for grammar and help them write it. We ask sometimes just sit down with an English instructor and they can work through it with them. Now granted, you don't want an English instructor helping you with physics or dynamics or things like that, but they can certainly help you with the English, and they love it. They love interacting. Well, Mrs. Wallace the other day was saying that every time I sit down with it, I learn something new. It's awesome.
But getting those English communication skills are so
Right.
important.
Yes, they
If
are.
you want to get a job, you really need to work on both verbal and written communication skills.
Yes.
And the library has great resources on there. They have
They do,
actually
yeah.
conversation sessions and tea sessions
Yes.
where you can come in and just sit down with English speakers and learn, and that stuff like that is all over campus.
Yep.
But they get to use your resources.
Yep.
The theme of today.
I know. Have to use your resources.
You have to.
Everything we've been talking about today shows and demonstrates how Florida Tech stands out.
Yeah.
But I think to me, the devotion of the staff and faculty and everybody here is what really jumps out at me, and how we're willing to do what it needs to be done for the student. I have gone and knocked on doors if a student wasn't going to class. I know others to do that, and the Res Life here is just amazing. I know that security has gone to check on somebody off campus if
Yep.
something happened. I mean, it's a small school mentality, but big enough to have all the resources you need. I went to an advisors conference, and I had a representative of this big Los Angeles school. And I talked about one student that had stopped going to class, and I talked to Res Life and said, I need to get this student because it's kind of fell off the map. So I went to the door, knocked on the door, and the student came out and we talked, and we kind of worked out a plan. And this person, the advisor from LA, was like, "What? That's crazy. Good luck with that." So her take was that I was doing something out of the ordinary and crazy, but that's out here, it's not out of the ordinary. Of course, she had 50,000 students, where we had less than 5,000 undergrad.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference. And I don't think anybody I've told at FIT ever thought that was completely strange. Is that cool?
No, I think, I agree that there's a level of personal service that we can provide, that large schools can't provide. The professors are so involved here. You know, I can contact a professor when an employer calls me and they go, oh yeah, I know, I'll send my students over. Whereas a large university, they don't even talk to the professors,
Yeah.
actually. They have, teaching assistants. And so I think the fact that the professors and the faculty as well as the staff are so involved with students and know the students is a huge benefit to Florida Tech.
I think what really sets Florida Tech aside, at least since I've been here and realized it, is the junior and senior projects. That is so unheard of for an undergraduate student to get that kind of research background as an undergrad. That's crazy. I mean, most of them walk away not only doing something, but building something that is being used, which gets them jobs, and then they can get published because of it. I mean, I know tons of students that, as an undergrad, were published. That is not a normal thing, and that's incredible because the professors and the staff and everyone really gets involved in the educational experience and takes it outside of the classroom, and that is what gets them the jobs that they're going to love from the first step, because it takes sometimes 5 or 6 steps to get there
Yeah.
with some other job, but here you really get that opportunity
Yeah,
to
it's the
get that.
hands-on- the hands-on
Absolutely,
experience.
that is incredible.
Yeah. Florida Tech with the international students comprise about 35% of the student population here at Florida Tech. So it just tells you that the students care about the services that we all offer. And I think when they go home and tell their friends or tell their sponsor that, hey, this is what Florida Tech did to me, this is where we want other students to go. Because I've had other students who were transferring into us say, we didn't get that at our last school.
Yeah.
And the last school was so much bigger and had so many more students that to the other school, they were a number. To us, they're a person.
Right.
I think that every department on this campus and every person cares what happens to not just internationals, but all of our students.
Okay.
But they also all understand the trials that an international student comes to, especially if they're coming to the United States for the first time.
Right.
And we all help them to the best of all of our abilities.
Yeah, I think the fact that there is that diversity here,
Mhm.
high percentage of international students, an international student will feel comfortable here because it's a smaller campus, there's a lot of different types of individuals here. So, you're not going to be just the one person perhaps in a class from another country. There's always
Every
other
semester,
students.
every semester, it's just so funny because a brand new student will come from whatever country and say, "You're Miss Jackie? We know all about you." I'm like, okay, is that good or bad? But you've helped other students from our country, and that's why we want to be here, because we know that this school is going to help us.
That's great.
And that just makes me proud.
Yeah.
With such a diverse population coming to Florida Tech and already here, what kind of programs do we offer regularly to help out and to?
Well, our office offers a lot of programs to help students develop professional skills, job search skills, so that they'll be successful in the job search. And we actually have a session just for international students to help them with their job search, because they do have some challenges, immigration related, and I'll let Jackie talk about types of programming they offer. So we have a specific program for international students. We offer programs on salary negotiation. So again, an international student might not know that you can negotiate your salary, depending on their culture. Maybe you don't do that, or maybe you do, or maybe that's always, you always bargain for something like that. We offer programs on interviewing skills. We do mock interviews, one-on-one. We offer general, resume writing programs and things like that. And we do some special types of programs. We've had business etiquette dinners, and I know that the student activities areas also offer those types of programs, because many times students are expected to go on a meal as part of the interview. Someone takes you to lunch. How do you handle that? And Americans have a different style of dining than other countries. And what kinds of food should you order when you go out on an interview? And this is good for American students as well. And so that's a fun program that we offer. We've done like a business fashion show before, where we've provided information on the right types of clothing to wear, what's business casual, what's professional dress, what should you wear. Actually, now in our career expos, we are requiring professional dress or business casual to even go into the career expo. So we provide a lot of resources for all students, and including international students who, when I'll never forget this story. I had an international student a few years ago who was going to have an interview, and the person in my office, he asked the person in my office, what should I wear? And she said, a sport coat. And he came in as athletic.
Oh, no.
Because he
no.
didn't quite understand.
What it is.
And so it's important that we can meet with students and provide those kinds of, that kind of information before they have the job interview, or before they have go to a professional event. So those are some of the things that Career Services offers. I know Jackie has programs specific.
With the international students being such a large portion of the population here on our campus, students are required to follow the rules and regulations for immigration compliance. That includes working. And we try to help them with jobs that they get while they're a student studying, in the form of CPT, which Donna helps our office with, and in the form of OPT, which is optional practical training, which a student can do after they graduate, and it's a benefit of their student status. So we encourage students to go to these programs, go to the career fair, learn what's out there, learn what you're eligible to do with your major, hone in on who's at that career fair, hone in on how do I dress for an interview, how do I eat if I have to go to a business meeting. We have workshops online under our department about the application process, what kind of documentations that you need to provide to us. When you get your job, what kind of documentations do you need to provide to your employer? Because a lot of students don't know how to file taxes once they've gotten a job. We have workshops on filing taxes. So we try to get all the required information to the students at all different times of an academic year.
They bring an immigration attorney on campus
Yes.
to help answer questions. So
Yep.
a lot of very helpful resources.
Yep.
And then, do we need to do more? And student activities as well. You have leadership summits and.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything they could ever dream of, we have for them. If it's, we're actually offering a leadership series next academic year that will be all-inclusive of everything, so they can get training on how to use our Panther Prowl system to join the student organizations and just kind of browse through them. We're going to be working with CAPS and get some, mental health help, stress help, anything that they could also be, needing. Health screenings, all that kind of stuff will be available to any student, any undergrad or graduate student.
What kind of things do Residence Life? I know Residence Life does a lot of programs because they ask us to help with different things.
They do tons of awesome programs. They do meetings with their residents where they are required to go over certain things such as Title IX, anything that is pertinent to the student as a student here in the state of Florida and the United States. And then they do a lot of community building, as they call it, where they go in and they really get to know their residents with the RAs and the RDs and the community directors, and really get to know their students and get them really transition to being a Florida Tech student and having that home away from home.
They've often asked me to come in and talk about the resources on campus, tutoring, how to be a better student, time management organization, just, tools for being more successful on campus.
I know the international students have 20, 25 groups, organizations
Yep.
that are
And
their
more
own.
joining every day.
Yeah, their own country related. One of our biggest ones is probably our Saudi Student Union.
Yep. Saudi and Caribbean Students Association, African Student Association has gotten huge. Our Latin Student Association they have their meetings right outside of my office, and every time I'm like, there they are, I can hear them because they're dancing
Yeah.
and they're singing and they're having so much fun. And I'll come out there and like, hey, Kat, come join in. And there's 60 students there hanging out, and not
Yep.
just Latin students. So
Yep.
they are always together and always doing some awesome stuff.
Yes, they are.
So thank you guys for being here today. I think I've had a blast. So I think this is cool. I'm ready to meet all these new students coming in.
I know. Give them planners.
I know, I'm excited now.
I can't wait to see your new planner.
And thank you for joining us today. We are looking forward to having you here. Good luck in all your future endeavors. And if you would like to hear more from us, please refresh your screen and you'll be able to ask us questions. Have a great day.